أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Mu'min and Mu'minat, Assalamu alaikum. Today, May 3rd, 2021, at Al Fatma Islamic Center, Albany, New York, we are starting our fifth session of 6-day programs. And for this series, we have Dr. Sayyid Moustafa al-Qazwini with us. We will start our program today with the recitation of the Holy Quran, and we have Brother Muhammad Amiri. Brother Muhammad Amiri.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم من الجن والإنس من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين وعذبهم عذابا يستغيث منه أهل النار. أعظم الله لك الأجر سيدي ومولاي حجة ابن الحسن القائم المهدي صلوات الله وسلامه عليه باستشهاد جدك أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. اللهم لعن قتلة أمير المؤمنين وأسيادهم ومواليهم من الأولين والآخرين وخلدهم في النار. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله واسع عليم. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا والذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. ومن يتول الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا الذين اتخذوا دينكم هزوا ولعبا من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم والكفار أولياء واتقوا الله إن كنتم مؤمنين. وإذا ناديتم إلى الصلاة اتخذوها هزوا ولعبا ذلك لأنهم قوم لا يعقلون. قل يا أهل الكتاب هل تنقمون منا إلا أن آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل من قبل وأن أكثركم فاسقون. قل هل أنبئكم بشر من ذلك مثوبة عند الله من لعنه الله وغضب عليه وجعل منهم القردة والخنازير وعبد الطاغوت أولئك شر مكانا وأضل عن سواء السبيل. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Mu'min and Mu'minat, today is the 20th of Ramadan and is the night of the Shahada of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Our guest speaker is here. I would like to invite Sayyid al-Qazwini to the member. Sayyid al-Qazwini.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وعلى سيدي ومولاي الإمام أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل إن الله نعم ما يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Tonight is the night of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and the second night of Qadr. My condolences to you, my friends, my sisters, my brothers at Al-Fatima, Albany, New York. Last night, we discussed the pillars and the foundations and the underpinnings of Imam Ali's government. And we said they are four. We spoke about the concept of shura, consultation, and we spoke about the concept of equality. Imam Ali alayhi salam presented these two models of shura and musawat, equality, when he was the caliph and before he became the caliph. He did believe in these two concepts, and he encouraged and reminded his followers, his disciples, his governors, people who worked for him, people who were related to him. He always reminded them about the importance of using and implementing shura, consultation, seeking advice, seeking nasiha, admonishment from others. That is how we keep our families and our societies safe from corruption, safer from despotism and dictatorship. And the other concept was the concept of equality. Imam Ali himself not only preached equality, but he practiced it himself. When he was the leader, the caliph, a person in Kufa sued him. He sued Imam Ali. He took him to court. That person was a Jewish man who sued Imam Ali. He took him to court, so that Imam Ali agreed to come to the court. When he stood before the chief justice, the judge, who was appointed by Imam Ali in Kufa, the judge looked at the man, the Jewish man, and he addressed him by his name, his first name and his last name. But then when he turned to Imam Ali, he addressed him by his title. He said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imam Ali said, no, stop. In the court, I'm a private citizen. I'm Amir al-Mu'mineen outside the court. But now, this man, he had sued me. And in the court, we are equal. In the court, we are both citizens. So don't address me with my title. Address me as Ali ibn Abi Talib, with my name, as you did with him. You didn't put a title for this man, so don't put a title for me. Imam Ali was very meticulous when it comes to equality, when it comes to non-discrimination. People are equal. People should be treated equally. When we are able to eradicate discrimination, bias, bigotry, and racism from our societies, then life becomes so beautiful. Then life becomes so promising. Then life becomes so peaceful and stable. You would enjoy life. America now is suffering from racism and discrimination. This is a disease that is embedded in the American culture from day one. from the day America was established. Though the Constitution says that people are equal in the eyes of God, all people are equal. And the Constitution guarantees the right, the human rights, the right of expression, the right of religion, religious rights for all people. But when you go to the society, there is discrimination. You can feel it, you can see it, you can touch it. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, equality is one of the important foundations of a healthy society. So we spoke about two qualities yesterday, and today, allow me on the night of his martyrdom to speak about another two qualities of Imam Ali. And why I'm speaking about these qualities. Tonight, I'm going to speak about the other two foundations of his governance, and that is justice and freedom. Why I'm speaking about them? Because, my friends, we have to understand Imam Ali alayhi salam. We have to define him. We have to know how he lived and how he ruled and how he interacted with others. We have to understand his thoughts, his theories, his sunnah, his tradition, his practice, his manners. Thus, we're going to love him more and more, because there are two types of love. Some people love Imam Ali with emotional love. Others, they love him rationally, a rational love, because they understand him, because they read about him, because they learn about him, because they know him, they studied him. Therefore, their loyalty and their love for Amir al-Mu'mineen is rational, is intellectual, not just emotional. When the love is merely emotional, it becomes dangerous. It could be lost. It could be ruined. I see many Muslims in America, in the state of California, some from certain nationalities, who deserted Islam and they converted to Christianity or Buddhism or other religions. Why they did this? Because in the first place, their understanding of Islam was zero. Their love for Islam was emotional. Their love for the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt and Imam Ali and Imam Hussein from day one was emotional, not intellectual, not rational. They loved, but they did not know why they loved. And they really did not know the difference between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. They didn't know. They had no idea whatsoever about the Islamic history, about who Imam Ali was. They just heard from their mothers and grandmothers, Ali, Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, and they just followed blindly, emotionally. This is why they lost it. They lost. Because their commitment to Islam was only emotional, not intellectual, not logical, not rational. And when your commitment to any cause is not rational, you may risk losing it. And this is what happens. So let's understand Ahlul Bayt. Let's understand why Imam Ali is important, why Imam Ali is different from others. We have to know, we have to have the answers. Imam Ali is different because of his qualities, because of his thought, because of his spirit, because of his conduct, because of his manner, because of his policies, because of his resistance against the dunya and the temptations, because of his sacrifice, because of his devotion. This is why he's different. Otherwise, in the physical shape, in his, size, how tall he was, what was his weight, these are not important. It could be similar to other people. but his religious and spiritual weight was different. His moral values and principles were different from others. This is why he became important. The Prophet says in the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. Oh guys, listen, I'm a human being like you. In my physical structure, there is no difference between me and you. Same color, same shape, same size, same weight. But when it comes to spirituality, my heart, my mind, my soul, my spirit is different. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيْهِ. Because of my mental and spiritual qualification, God decided to reveal to me, to send his revelation to me, to choose me as a messenger. Hence, Imam Ali is the same. Why the Prophet, why God chose him to be successor to the Prophet? Why not others? Because of his mental, psychological, spiritual, and moral capacity, qualifications, and credentials, and gifts. So last night we spoke about the concept of shura and the concept of equality. Today, allow me to speak about freedom and justice in the school of Imam Ali, in the administration of Imam Ali, in the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam. First, justice. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, بِالْعَدْلِ قَامَتِ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضِ. The heaven and the earth only stand. They only stand by justice. Meaning, if there is no justice there, the heaven and the earth are going to collapse. They cannot stand. It means there is no life without justice, no dignity without justice. It means there is no human society that is organized or developed or progressive without justice. If you take justice out of this life is going to turn into a jungle, into a forest. Nothing more being a jungle. Therefore, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, مَا عُمِّرَتِ الْبِلَادُ بِمِثْلِ الْعَدْلِ. Nothing can build communities like justice. Nothing. When you have justice, you have everything. If you have justice, you have good education. If you have justice, you have good health care. If you have justice, you're going to have good policing force in your town. If you have justice, you're going to have good justice system in your court. If you have justice, you're going to have everything. You don't worry about anything when you have justice. When you live in a just society, when no one is being abused, no one is being left out, no one is being wronged, when all people have the same share, when all people are shareholders, they all have the same voice. They have voice in building their societies. This is justice. My friends, have you asked yourself one day, why do we have some prosperous countries and on the other hand, we have underdeveloped countries, miserable countries? Why? Did God choose from day one that such and such and such countries have to be developed, have to be great, superpower, progressive, and such have to be always behind, always bankrupt, always living in chaos, in disorder? Why? Why? Let me ask you today, why coronavirus is spreading like a fire in India and they are burning the dead ones? Why? This is the will of God? Only the will of God? God decided that India has to burn? and people have to die in thousands, while other countries, they are enjoying, healthcare. This is not only the will of God. This is the will of us, the will of man. This is the mismanagement, the mischief, the corruption of man, of those who are in charge. This is their corruption. If they are not corrupt, if there is justice, then people don't have to die for nothing. If there is justice. Why millions of people are fleeing countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Lebanon, Morocco, other countries, Syria, and other countries, and seeking refuge in Europe? When they cross the Mediterranean, half of them drown, half of them do not make it. They are swallowed by the Mediterranean. They drown. Why? Simply because of lack of justice in their countries. They are not treated as human beings, because there is a two-tier system in their countries. One for the rich, for the powerful, for the elite, for the ruling class. The other system is for the poor. And always the law applies to the poor, not the strong, not the people in the government. They are above the law. Whereas in some other countries, no one is above the law. No one. They can take anyone to court, including the prime minister, including the president. Don't you see in the news from time to time? A prime minister, a president is sentenced to jail. The other day they sentenced Sarkozy, the French president. They sentenced him to jail, 3 years in jail. He was a president because of his corruption. So no one is above the law. This is what Islam says. Islam says, وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. When you judge between people, you have to judge with justice. There is no one above the law. No one above the law. Everyone in the society is accountable in Islam. Every person in the society. No one is above the law. One day, Imam Ali alayhi salam was sitting in the treasury, Baytul Mal, treasury. And at that time, money was gold and silver, actual gold and actual silver. It wasn't banknotes like today. It was the actual gold and silver. So he was distributing this gold and silver. His granddaughter came. Historians say either she was the daughter of Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein. This is what historians say. So she came maybe 3 years old, because Baytul Mal is adjacent to the house of Imam Ali alayhi salam. She doesn't have to travel to another location. It's inside the complex, the small complex. Part of it is residential for Imam Ali, couple of rooms for him and his family. The other is Baytul Mal, in the same place. So she took something. I don't know whether it was gold or silver. History does not say. History says she picked something, and she's a toddler, baby. She was leaving. Imam Ali runs after her, and he holds her hand, and he opens her hand, and he takes it away. Someone was standing there, said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, let her take it. She's your granddaughter. She has a share in this. Imam Ali said, no. Whenever her father gets his share, he will give her from his own share. Whenever her father gets his share from Bayt al-Mal, then he may give to his own daughter. This is justice, my friends. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. I liked something beautiful from Ayatollah al-Sistani when the Pope met him. So some journalist asked Ayatollah Sistani or his son probably, or his office staff, did he get the vaccination, the COVID-19? They said, no, not yet. He is waiting for his term. Whenever people take it, he will take it. There is no preference for him. He's just like anyone in the city of Najaf or in the country of Iraq, any citizen. And I believe in that because he did that. He did that. In fact, they wanted to grant him the Iraqi citizenship. He said, no, no. I have Iranian citizenship and you give me just residency, just like any other student in the seminary. He does that. And he does not own a house. He doesn't have a property. When I met him in 2003, December of 2003, he said, this house is not mine. This is a rental house. I have rented the house. I don't own a property here. He's been in Najaf for over 60 years. Over 60 years. He doesn't have a property of his own. This is Islamic system, my friends. Though he deserves many properties. Nowadays, even some simple students of seminary, they buy properties. But this man decided, I'm not a person of dunya. He's not enchanted with the dunya. He's not enchanted. Yes, he has a decent place, humble place. Very humble. He's renting it out. I'm not saying, my friends, we should not buy properties, we should not buy a house. No, I'm not saying that. I'm speaking about equality. That all people should have the ability to buy a house. But sometimes when you see in some villages, in some towns, in our countries back home, in India, in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Iran, in Lebanon, in Egypt, in Morocco, in Saudi Arabia, that some people live in castles and mansions and palaces, and just outside, if you just go outside, few yards outside, there are people who are living in makeshift tents, homeless people. We see it here in America, in Los Angeles, where I live. Go to downtown Los Angeles, go to some other areas, go to Beverly Hills, you see mansions on one side, and we see some homeless people sleeping in the streets on the other side. You see this in New York, in Manhattan. You see it in Washington. You see it everywhere. Imam Ali says, this is not justice. This is not justice. Imam Ali says, nothing builds communities more beautifully like justice. ما عمرت البلاد بمثل العدل. He says, إن الأرض لتزين في أعين الناس. The earth, the communities, the towns, the countries become attractive and beautiful إذا كان عليها إمام عادل. When the ruler who's ruling is a just ruler, إمام عادل. That country becomes the most beautiful country. You don't have to worry about anything. 3 years ago, I went to Iceland, Reykjavik, the capital. So the Icelander man who was with me, he parked his car next to a house, in the front of that house. Then he said to me, do you know whose house is this? I said, no. He said, this is the house of the president, our president. I said, but how do you park your car here? He said, it's okay. We trust each other. And I saw only one policeman standing at the door, only one, not an army, like Middle Eastern countries. The entire army of the country is used to protect the Sultan, the king, the president. They become his bodyguards because he's afraid of his people. In Iceland, he's not afraid of his people. And then the man was telling me that we see the president leaving his house and he walks alone without bodyguards, and he greets people and he speaks with people in the street. Then he took me to another place, which was the Prime Minister's office. Small office, my friend, small office. You can't believe it. This is the Prime Minister's office. And then he took me to the Parliament. Again, we parked next to the Parliament building, next on the premise of the Parliament building. He left the car there. I said to him, but this is a Parliament. Where is there's no high security? He said, no, we don't need high security because we trust each other. Because all those parliamentarians here, they have 64 members in their parliament, 64. They are people, ordinary people. We see them, we walk with them in the streets. They don't have bodyguards. They don't have entourage. They don't have sirens when they commute. They walk. So the country becomes beautiful, my friends. Becomes beautiful. You want to go and live there because it's very peaceful. You don't worry about anything. Becomes beautiful. If the leadership is real leadership, does not create a gap between itself and the masses, then the country is going to enjoy that leadership, and they're going to enjoy equality, and they're going to enjoy justice, and they're going to enjoy their life. But sometimes you go to other countries, the terrains are beautiful. So beautiful, it's fantastic, magnificent. But then people run away from that country. They don't stand in that country. They don't stay in that country. They seek refuge elsewhere. You ask why, but you have a beautiful terrain, you know, you have mountains, you have rivers, the weather is good. They say yes, but the political system is corrupt. Our political system is corrupt. They are right. Adlu Sa'a, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, an hour practicing justice for 1 hour, خير من عبادة 70 سنة. It's worth more than worshipping 70 years. قيام ليلها وصيام نهارها. These 60 years, if you stand the whole night in prayers and you fast the whole day, is less worthy than practicing justice for 1 hour. وجور ساعة. Practicing injustice for 1 hour, أشد عند الله, worse with God is worse than معاصي 60 سنة, from sinning for 60 years, committing one justice. Because in that hour of injustice, in that 1 hour of injustice, maybe many people lose their life, and that is irreparable, a damage which is irreparable. And justice, my friends, does not begin from the government. It begins, as I said, with Shura, the same. It begins from home. You as a father, as a breadwinner, as a caretaker, you have to implement justice with your wife, with your spouse, with your children. The spouses have to have justice with each other. If we don't practice it at home, we will fail practicing it outside the home. Why most of the societies are despotic? Why they have despotic regimes? Because they never experienced justice or democracy at home. They never experienced that. So they grew up used to corruption, used to bullying, used to intimidating others. abusing others, wronging others. For them, this is normal. This is something very normal. But if we teach our kids at home that we have to implement justice, the father is just with his children. The father is just. The father is just with his wife. When he married a wife, he took her from her parents' home. He brought her into his home, into his care. He has to take care of her. He has to respect her. She's a human being. He cannot abuse her. He cannot wrong her. He has to take care of her. This is an amana. Your wife is a trust, amana. You took amana from her family. You have to deliver it safe. Same thing when she marries a man. He's an amana. He's a trust. She has to take care of him. They should not abuse each other. Justice begins at home, with your family, with your kids. And then after that, it goes to the government. Imam Ali says something amazing. He says, even thieves have to implement justice. Why? Because when they steal something, they have to divide that among themselves with justice. Because if they don't do that, they're going to fight among themselves. So justice is so sought after and required and beloved by all that even thieves who are criminals, when they steal something, they need to implement justice in distributing the stolen good. You know the drug dealers? One time I came to Albany, someone took me to the to the drug neighborhood, very dangerous, and I was afraid. I was really afraid. And a stray bullet comes and puts an end to you. So I said to him, "Aren't you afraid?" He said, "No, because we know each other. They're not going to harm me." So even the drug dealers, they implement justice with each other, of course, not with others. Among themselves, they have to implement justice. They don't attack each other because it would ruin their business. It would ruin their career. وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. Allah says, when you judge among people, you have to judge with witness. The other thing, and the fourth pillar of Imam Ali's government, is freedom. Tonight his martyrdom. Imam Ali alayhi salam, tonight is the anniversary of his martyrdom. Imam Ali alayhi salam was the champion of a freedom. متى استعبدتم الناس? He says, when did you allow yourself to enslave people while their mothers had begotten them free? وقد ولدتهم أمهاتهم أحرارا. And when we speak about the freedom, my friends, before you provide the freedoms for people, you have to teach them and educate them. Because if you speak about the freedom of choice, and if people do not know, they don't have any clue, any knowledge about these choices, they're going to mess up. They're going to choose the wrong choice. They're going to have a poor choice. So you have to teach them who's who. They need education. They need ta'aleem in the beginning. Otherwise, they cannot make the right choice. Otherwise, it will be dangerous on the society to just give a freedom. Can you give a freedom to kids who are 10 years old? Would they give them a freedom at school? They read any material? No. Would they give them a freedom to have access to the internet? No. They need paternal guidance. You don't give them access to anything, because they're going to mess up. They don't appreciate the meaning of a freedom. They're going to have wrong choice. So we need education first. We need to tell people what is right and what is wrong. And then you give them freedom. And that was the policy of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen said education is important. Ta'aleem is important. Once you are able to distinguish between right and wrong, then you deserve a freedom of choice. Then you deserve a freedom of expression. Then you deserve a freedom of religion. You don't give a freedom to anyone, because most people are going to mess up. They're going to mess up. They're going to take advantage of that freedom. So after teaching people, Imam Ali alayhi salam says freedom, number one, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, political freedom. These are sacred rights of the people. Of course, it is within the accepted norms and values of the society. But the most important type of a freedom is the freedom of thought, because God has given us brain, reason, aql. And if we have reason and we do not contaminate this reason with the drugs, with the smoking, with alcohol, with other destructive substances, if we keep it safe and healthy, safe and sound and healthy, plus we have ilm, knowledge, so you have aql and you have ilm, then you deserve freedom of thought. You deserve a freedom of thought. Here, you can make the right choice. You can make a choice. This is why in Islam, we have a freedom of thought. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wishes to believe, let him believe, and whoever wishes to disbelieve, let him disbelieve here. But tomorrow, he will be held accountable before God. In the old days, slavery was when you acquire a slave from the market, or you arrest him and then you sell him in a market. It was physical slavery. Nowadays, my friends, it is intellectual, psychological slavery. Colonization in the past, they used to come to our countries. They enslave people. They brainwash them. They control them. Nowadays, they don't have to come to your countries. You go to them. Your kids, the young generation, our daughters, our sons, they go to them through the social media, through being enchanted with Westernization, Americanization, the American culture. They are enchanted with the West. Some nations, really, when you go and visit them, they are enchanted with the West, enchanted with America. America for them is a dream. Not universities in America, huh? I wish universities, academic institutions. No. The nightclubs, the sexual promiscuity in this country, liberalism in this country. Because America provides freedom for all without any limits, and at the expense of the values of the society. This is why they are enchanted with America. So anyone who cannot, declare his homosexuality there, anyone who cannot drink and dance, anyone who cannot enjoy fornication and adultery, he would aspire to come to this country because there is a freedom. This is the wrong type of a freedom, my friends. This is not a freedom. This is slavery, but another form of slavery. This is intellectual slavery, psychological slavery, not physical, psychological. Psychological slavery to materialism. Becoming a consumer. See how many now, after I finish this lecture, I go and bring the mail from the mailbox. 90% of the mail is junk. junk mail. 90% of it is about marketing, is about buying these goods. Many of them are useless. And some people, they would buy. They have obsession with shopping. I know some sisters are going to be unhappy with me, and some men are going to be happy because I'm discussing this. But this is a fact. This is a fact. We have to exercise control. When we fast in Ramadan, not just to control themselves from this, from not drinking this. There is a bigger control. Control your desire. When you don't need a good, certain goods, when you don't need them, they are not necessary, don't buy them. Don't turn yourself into an absolute consumer because you have money you want to buy. Just because they have money. Some people, they receive their stimulus checks, rather than, spending it on something good, they go and buy things, a Rolex watch, for instance. You don't need it, really. You don't need it. It's not going to make you a true human being if you don't wear it. Rather than spending it on something good, they become spendthrift. They waste their money. Just because they have money, they don't know how to spend it. They buy things that they really don't need them. This is slavery. Imam Ali says, free yourself. Free yourself. We can have better control over ourselves. Tonight, Imam Ali alayhi salam is in his house. The family are gathered around him. He's telling his children his last will. أوصيكما بتقوى الله ولزوم أمره. I admonish you, advise you to revere God and to get hold of his command, follow his command. وأن لا تبغي الدنيا. Do not run after the dunya. Dunya is misleading. Dunya is deceiving. وأن لا تبغي الدنيا وإن بغتكما. Even if the dunya comes forward, advances itself toward you, stay away from it. Don't be misled. وأن لا تبغي الدنيا وإن بغتكما ولا تأسفا على شيء منها زوي عنكما. Do not feel sorry for something you missed from this dunya. Don't destroy yourself because you couldn't make this. Don't commit suicide because you couldn't marry this, you couldn't get the job, you couldn't get this, work, you couldn't get this wife. Don't do that to yourself. Life has opportunities. They come and go. They come and go. It's not the end of the world if you don't get this or you don't get that, or if you don't achieve this goal or you don't achieve that goal. ولا تأسفا على شيء منها زوي عنكما وقولا بالحق وأعملا للآخرة. Always speak the truth, always, at any cost. Speak the truth. وأعملا للآخرة. Always invest for the hereafter, because in this life we're going to pass. This life is a passage. This life is a bridge. You don't stay on the bridge for a long time. Invest for the akhirah. If you have energy, if you have talent, invest it for the akhirah. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen was overwhelmed with pain. He said to his son, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Bunayya Hassan, in qadayt nahbi, if I die, I want you and your brothers, to wash me, to shroud me, to carry my coffin to my final resting place. And I want you to lead the janazah prayers on my body. Tonight is a very sad night in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Kufa. The house is dark. The children of Amir al-Mu'mineen are sobbing and crying for a merciful father, a caring father, a beautiful father who gave an example of being the best husband, the best father, the best grandfather, the best friend. Imam Ali was a friend with his kids. He was a friend. He treated them as friends, as companions. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam turned to his family. He said, Astawdi'ukum Allah. I leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after me among you. Hafizakum Allah. May God protect you. Allah khalifati fikum. God is my vicegerent among you. And then he turned his face to the front and he said, Assalamu alaykum ya malaikata rabbi. He greeted the angels of God. لمثل هذا فليعمل العاملون. For this destination, we have to work hard. And then he said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Tashahhad al-shahadatayn. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And then his soul left this life, joining its eternal abode, eternal place in paradise. We hope, inshallah, we will see the face of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We will see him on the mahshar, on the day of judgment, and we would receive the cup of water from his hand on the pond of Kawthar, inshallah. My condolences to you, my brothers and sisters. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inshallah, he will enjoy the a'mal tonight. Spiritually, mentally, you will enjoy the a'mal of Laylatul Qadr. And tomorrow, inshallah, is going to be our last meeting and session with you. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا واجعلنا اللهم من أنصاره وأعوانه. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Jazakallah Sayyid, and thank you for another amazing speech. Inshallah, we will see you tomorrow at the same
Inshallah.
time.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Mu'min and Mu'minat, with this, we conclude our program for today. Inshallah, we will be back at 9:15 p.m. for our Urdu Majlis. Until then,